Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're now tuned into the one and only place where you can get what's needed on your plate along with what's going on in your hood. Candy Lady's gonna keep you up to date with events going on round your way. What's really good? SC by Black locally. Keep them dollars circulating in your own community. It's the SCBBL show. You're now tuned into the SCBBL show. Rock, rock, rock on. Rock, 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 rock on.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the last day in August of 2020. Today we are with Lorena Graham, BKA Lorena the doula, holistic doula at that. Thank you so much, Lorena, for accepting our invitation to be a part of Mondays with Moms as we talk more about homeschooling and some of the fears that some of the families go through of whether homeschooling is the right option for their family. Are they equipped? Are they ready? So we just wanted to do this to give people reassurance and some of the tips that has been helping you and your family to survive since you've been homeschooling. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Lorena, to tell people a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Let's talk about homeschooling or like actually tell people about myself.
Tell people about yourself because you have a lot going on outside of homeschooling. You know, you have things that families could just benefit from in general. Naturalness, holistic, all that good stuff. Like, I'm gonna ask you some questions too about how to get my life of healthy eating.
Okay, I had to pull up a list because otherwise I'm gonna forget. I'm a holistic doula, so that means supporting people from fertility all the way through pregnancy, birth, labor, and postpartum. And make sure you have the best birth experience possible. I have a multitude of tools, education, and resources that we go through, and to make sure if you have a partner, make sure that they're a part of the birth if you want them to be. And basically make sure you're not coming out of this birth traumatized, because unfortunately I get a lot of people, my first birth or my second birth or the last birth I had was horrible and they did this, this, and this, and I'm just like, well, this, and this didn't have to happen, and they could have did that, and that, and all of those things. So that's one of the things that I do. Breastfeeding counselor, nutritionist, photographer, videographer. Photography and videography shows up in my birth work as well. Prenatal yoga, cloth diapering and baby wearing educator, and elimination communications, and the little baby sign language that you do. I'm real big on holistic and returning to roots, because this is not new. This is not something hippie. This is all stuff we've been doing. I'm just reclaiming my roots.
I'm glad you said it's not hippie.
No, I don't like that, because then it goes, it's like, so this is for white people, it's not for me. No, not at all. This is not anything anybody created. This is normal. This is traditional. This is our ancestor work.
Right.
None of this is new. It's not a fad.
Right. How do you think we got away from that? Like,
well, specifically home birth, we got away from it because when the medical institution was created, they tried to make midwives, because midwifery was Black America, and Black people birthed America, and when we got over here. So when the medical institution started, they started phasing out Black midwives by saying they were nasty, they were dirty, they didn't have their clinical preparation and all that was unclean, and basically they discredited and shamed Black midwives and made people scared to birth with them. And then they put regulations on it. So they phased us out and then regulated it and then sold it back to us.
Wow.
I mean, cultural appropriation, all that. I mean, it's just another way they did it. Repackaging it, selling it back to us, and then making it gatekeeping and making it really hard to become a midwife. The amount of Black midwives out there is abysmal. It's really sad. Because this is actually, I mean, if you go back in your lineage, it's not hard if people actually know their family to find a midwife in your family, because it wasn't uncommon. Birth was just something we did.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You have some fans, Eleanor, Tamika, Diaz.
I don't see anything.
I can see it in my comment section.
Oh, I see it now.
Okay, awesome.
Eleanor.
Hey, ladies. So yeah, kind of pivoting from all of those plethora of things. Everything you do is centered around family. Like every year, families are taking photos. Every year, a child is born. Every year, we're looking for new and better ways of doing things. You know, to extend the livelihood and the years of us being with our families. Mm-hmm. So pivoting from that and directly into homeschooling, tell us, have your children ever been a part of public school, or have they always been homeschooled?
Never been in the public school. My child, I just asked him, what do you think about public school? He was like, I don't know, what is that?
So neat.
Trying to explain it to him as best I can, but it is what it is. If he wants to, when he's older and I thoroughly examine that school,
yeah,
we may entertain the idea, but at this point, it ain't happening.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that too. Like, how did you guys decide that was the best option for your family?
Well, Kyrie was allergic to like more than 10 different things. And my first initial thought was, I can't send him to a school and trust people to feed him and not make him get rushed to the hospital or have a huge reaction and I have no idea what it is.
Right.
So my first child brought me to nutrition, and I was already leaning towards this, but he definitely gave me that push.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do a lot of research and stuff to heal him because he had really severe eczema and it was brought on by a lot of different allergies, which made me have to start reading the ingredients on everything and work on healing him. And I did that.
Yeah.
But after doing that, I was like, I'm not putting him at risk. I just can't. Like his first 6 months were horrible to the point where I was like, I don't want no more kids. I can't do this. If this is what life is like with a child.
I can totally understand that. It's enough with them just throwing up, everything, but to just be allergic on top of it is, you never know what kind of reaction.
Like, scratching and you trying to stop him because his was so bad he would scratch it. One part of his arm was black.
Aww. And
bleeding. It was really bad. And trying to convince a baby not to scratch themselves because they're itching is
it's hard.
Lose.
It's a losing battle.
But so all of that made me research everything, and then I started digging even deeper. The whitewashing in schools, the lack of real history, the lies in the history, the lack of history that isn't centered around oppression in schools. So there's no like real foundation of being proud of yourself as a Black person in America in our public school system.
Right.
I wasn't okay with that. And I was like, this isn't what I want my child internalizing unconsciously and carrying into life, into their life as they grow up. So I was just like looking at the history, looking at the whitewashing of everything, looking at the over-policing of Black children in schools, the over-diagnosing of ADHD and ADD, and then again, over-policing and we just, obviously systematic racism shows up in every system when it comes to America. And I just was like, do my children have to deal with this? Or is there another option? Yeah. And there's another option. We don't have to do this. I'm gonna need to make a way so we can do this because I have to do the best I can for my children, and I'm able to, so I'm gonna figure this out.
Love it. I love it.
I forgot something. Oh, the nutrition. The nutrition in school. Garbage.
The same pizza every week, old milk, juice.
And my kids would have went to school with their own lunch. Like my mama made our lunch. She wasn't playing that game either. But I still didn't want, like, because it's still conditioning. Like things on the wall, like milk is good for the body, and this is a good source of vitamin D. Whole time they added synthetic vitamin D to that, and that's not a good source of vitamin D. Take it outside.
Wow. And then I'm glad you say that, because I'm sure me and amongst everybody else who are your fans when it comes to just watching your food stories, I'm like, can I just get her to do mine for me? I don't even know how you do it. It's like from the mangoes to like everything that you just slicing and dicing. It's just so motivating, but I can't find myself to do it. Can you encourage us?
I mean, once you start making something a routine, it's hard to fall out of it. I'm so used to getting up and cutting mangoes. It's second nature. It's either mangoes or cantaloupe, whatever fruit that I'm like, and the reason I do that is because you're waking up your digestive system with something that's easily digestible, because fruits and vegetables digest in about 30 minutes.
Got it.
So, instead of taxing our systems with something that's hard to digest and going to make us tired, something that's going to give you energy and start your digestive system off right for the day. So that's why we're doing fruits and smoothies in the morning.
So another question is, like, how do you, like, for instance, Eleanor said you do jackfruit, everything. You do it all.
I love jackfruit. Mango and jackfruit is my top food.
Yes. So, like, even with keeping your vegetables and stuff, after you chop them up, how do you keep them preserved? Because you probably do you cut just enough for the day, or do you?
I don't cut it until I'm using it.
Okay. So yeah, that explains like how when we want to make salads and all of that stuff, I'm like, I would love to just have my salads already in a container so I can just pull it out.
You can do that. That's food prep. People be doing that in the little jars. You cut up and put it in it. I'm not sure how long that's gonna last.
Right.
I have not personally done it. You might be able to do it and throw some vinegar in there, and it might preserve it for a while. I could see that working.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get, because I need to do everything in like one step, and then I can just pull and go from there. Because I know me, like just being taxed with doing that every day, it's not.
And you have to order your children.
9 and 16.
So you need to make them do it with you. You know what? What's funny is these kids don't be waiting on me. I come downstairs, the cutting board and the mango is waiting for me. You can listen to our morning music. They're ready.
I love it.
And this is the tradition. This is what we do. And they're gonna remember this when we grow up. This is what we did in the morning. And you make it a common thing for you, and your kids will fall in line.
Got it. Thanks for that tip. I'm gonna try that.
Because also, when you go to prepare healthier foods, I'm not sure how your diet is now, but it may be like some kids are just like, oh, I don't want that. But if you start including them in the preparation, that makes them more eager to try it.
Yeah, one thing I can say about my girls is that they're a lot more open-minded than I was as a kid. I didn't want anything to do with fruits or vegetables as a kid. Like, it wasn't until college till I started eating salads for real, not just the cucumber and the vinegar or lettuce here and there. So they'll at least give something to try, and if they like it, we build upon that. So I give them that. So outside of, we pivoted off to like the food topic, but what are some things that you have incorporated into your day-to-day educationally with your children? I like to talk about a lot that some of us who have already been into the school system, we're used to that routine, and we kind of try to bring that same routine into the house. And for somebody like you you've been in school, but your children have not been in school. I don't even know if you've been in school. I just said that. But if you've been in school, you probably take what you've learned over those years and had to unlearn that behavior when it came down to your children. So could you talk a little bit about what that was like for you?
I thought you was going to say apply that to, no, I ain't applied none of it. I had to unlearn it and realize that number one, each kid learns differently, and trying to learn how they learn is important. Decolonizing my mind when it comes to schooling, and unlearning the way they do schooling, because schooling is very it was based off of the Industrial Revolution. That's the way it was based off of. So it's very assembly line centered, and that's not child centered.
Right.
That's not conducive to real learning. Because if you think about it, like, how much do you remember besides the stuff that's basic?
Yep.
School. It's
Yep.
you learn it and you data dump it. You learn it and you data dump it. And my kids may do that, but they're gonna be way more set up for life.
Yep.
Than they are from school. Because the things that we should have been learning is how to math, of course, English, of course. But why don't we know how to file our own taxes? Why don't we come out of school knowing how to apply for a job and do what was I about to say?
The home stuff.
Maintain a good credit score and all these important things that you need to know how to do as an adult, navigate as an adult. At the end of the day, unless I become a biochemist, chemistry, taking them advanced chemistry classes ain't doing nothing for me right now.
Right. Yeah. And those are the things that that they hold us accountable for. Yes.
Own food, prepare your own food, healthy food, how to take care of yourself and build your immune system. These are things that my kids know how to do.
Right.
My youngest will wake up, I got sniffles. Can I have some elderberry?
Wow. I love it. Wow.
These things are more important than half the stuff that they taught us in school. Whatever they taught me about Roosevelt is gone.
Exactly. Sometimes we have to even think about, like, I can't speak for you, but sometimes even when they talk about the presidents and what number president we're on, and I don't remember that. Like, I have to look that up every year. That's nothing that I retain, you know.
And I don't even care.
Right.
In my opinion, this whole system, it was built on sense of systematic racism, so it needs to be torn down and started over anyway. So y'all have fun with that.
Yes, Lorena. Oh my God.
But making sure you unlearn what they taught you and start really critically thinking about think about how you learn. And then watch your kids. When you homeschool, you see your kids, even outside of homeschooling, you see them as babies. You see how they learn and how they grow. And that doesn't change. That's how they grow and that's how they learn. If your child doesn't respond to this type of learning, that's another thing in schools is one way.
Right.
You got 20 kids in this classroom.
No child left behind. So if I'm advanced, I got to wait on everybody else and sit there and draw.
And that's like, you know what? If I was homeschooled, if I was unschooled specifically, I would speak about 5 languages by now.
Yep.
At least, because I was really, and I still am, really in love with languages. And that's child-led learning.
Right.
And just like when you get out of school, when you get out of high school, you start learning about the things that you care about. That's directed learning. That's what is the word that I'm looking for? Unschooling.
Yeah.
That's unschooling. It's you're leading, you're learning. And that's when my kids get to the point where like, I'm really interested in this, that's what they're gonna do. And everything's gonna be centered around that.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to because that way I'm feeding their passion. And I'm not giving them something that's going to exhaust them. And if they decide that this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I build something with, how can I help you? And here's how we're going to do this.
Definitely.
The goal is for them to build their own wealth and their own business and their own, follow whatever it is that they're interested in versus these are the list of jobs that you could do because you're this intelligent.
Yeah.
That's all you got. Nah, my kids, here, you want to create a job? Let's figure out how we can do it.
Right.
We in the age of social media, everything is possible. People make money off of reviewing games.
Yes. So true. You have a question. What homeschooling program do you use?
Right now, my oldest is using Time for Learning. My youngest is using a kindergarten workbook. He's technically in preschool.
Right.
But to be honest, because I'm so random, it changes every few months.
Yep. Yep. Whatever is what, like you said, whatever is kind of like gaining their attention at that time, it's like you put more energy there, and you might pivot and go into something else.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of homeschooling.
Yeah. Child center. You can do what you want.
Yes.
In South Carolina, you got the option 3 where you can do unschooling technically, and that's all child led. What do you want to learn about today? Okay, let's go learn about this.
Yep. Social
media makes it so time for learning.
I typed it in the comments. Oh,
it's a website. The now being a homeschooler is pretty. It's a lot easier than I'm sure when I was growing up and people were homeschooling, because you have the internet, you have this unlimited resources. I mean, I done lost count how many homeschool groups I'm in with free resources being posted every day. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of overwhelming.
Right. Yep, I'm with you. But and then we have a bookstore too. We have a bookstore, Turning Pages Bookshop in Goose Creek, and they're great with like trying to keep the kids up to speed with materials. So pay them a visit as well.
I've been meaning to go over there.
Yes.
I saw they had my favorite books, Children of Blood and Bone.
Oh yeah. They also have like local authors and books that are related to South Carolina as well. So that's pretty cool. They have a whole section on that.
What's bad is I live right up the street from Goose Creek. When I say quarantine was basically my life before Corona, I ain't got to go. I ain't going.
Right. Yes.
This whole social distancing. I'm happy. I never wanted you that close to me anyway.
Yes. I got so much stuff done in this time of just having to be home. Like, I got so much stuff done.
I done lost count how many trainings I'm in.
Yes. Yes. I think I'm in 3. I finished 1. I'm halfway through another, and I'm like just starting another one.
You see me at Publix.
She probably talking about
you got good timing, because I can count on one hand how many times I've done been to Publix in the last couple weeks.
She probably talking about the Turning Pages lady. But she said didn't want to scare her from being a super fan. No, she's talking about you.
I went to Publix a couple days ago. I can't remember the time before that. You work there?
Elle don't work there.
You just be there?
Elle don't work there.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness.
Next time so I can remember your face.
Yes. Holla at her, Elle. Next time you see her, call her out. So is there anything for like some families who may feel like they're failing their kid from either pulling them out of public school because they have like friends there, or I don't know if I can keep up, the things that you probably hear all the time when people are consulting with you about, is homeschooling the right option for their family? What is something that you can tell them?
You're not going to fail your child if you're putting forth the effort and doing stuff with them daily. Number one, you're building that bond. Your child can never get this back. When they're in public school, they're losing 8 hours of their day to people that they're not going to have any affiliation with when they're out of school.
So true.
I'm in contact with less. I can count on one hand how many people from high school I'm in contact with.
Yep.
Outside of Facebook, and I mean Facebook is Facebook.
Right. Yep.
But your child building that bond with you, like, you think about it, you have the opportunity to. That's another thing. You have an opportunity to make sure your child's mind is molded and not tarnished by people's beliefs that you don't necessarily agree with. You have no control who's teaching your child at school. Yep. You at home, you have 100% control. If you don't want them pushing, what is it? The flag, in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't want them pushing that, because think about it, I pledge allegiance to a flag and halt.
Right.
Pushing that on your child, you don't have to.
Right.
Complete control. Now that can scare a lot of people, but
Yeah.
there's so many resources, so many support groups. If you feel like this ain't right, drop a comment.
Right.
We'll get you together and give you everything that you need and help you get it, because the homeschool community is very supportive and we want to see you succeed, because we don't want these babies being mass educated with this nonsense.
Right.
that
Right.
public school is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different reasons people homeschool, but as a whole, the whole homeschool community is very supportive, and there's no reason for you to necessarily struggle when it comes to resources or ways to do it. There's a billion different ways to homeschool, and there's no right way. It's whatever works for you and your child or children.
Yep. I'm glad you say that, because some families work, and it's like, well, if I work, how can I homeschool? Well, for me, having experience, what we did was we had a homeschool co-op, and our children would just be there with the other children, for the hours that we were at work. And then when we got them home, we would review certain things. And on top of that, we always gave them like other just one-off assignments of things that we wanted them to look more into, or if they brought up a question, it's like, go look it up, let's talk about it, things of that nature.
What
So,
homeschool co-op?
My mom, the spiritual center where we had our meeting. Yeah.
That's right. I was like, wait, what?
Yep. So we did that for the past 2 years. Now we're going into the fall. And because of COVID, we're not going to open back up right away.
Right.
Wait until we figure out what's going on.
Virtually.
Huh?
You can do co-op virtually.
Yes. So she's been talking about it. And I'm not sure if my mom's figured that out yet. But
this platform is pretty cool. You have Zoom, you got Facebook, the groups and all of that. So for your homeschool support group, literally just type in your city and homeschool. If you've seen me, you're here in South Carolina. There's, what is the name of it? I can't remember the name of none of the things that I'm trying to remember right now.
What you can do is after the call, just go back to the comments and just drop them in there.
Okay.
Because like for me, I'm with At Home in the Low Country is the association that I'm signed up under.
Yeah. I'm signed up under Angela Perry. Don't remember what the name of her thing is. Her YouTube is Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling.
Oh.
The name of her school is different, which is why I keep forgetting it. Unlimited. I don't know. I'm bad with names, but
you said her name is Angela Perry.
Yeah, she's on Facebook. I have a homeschool interview that was her that I did of I think it was 3 years ago.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm in her homeschool co-op. I'm in her
association,
accountability association.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of the things that the associations do is I know for the one I'm signed up under, if you were to ever have any legal problems, because typically when you take your child out, the ones who have the IEPs and things like that, where you're getting all kind of phone calls trying to figure out where your child is. If you ever have any legal troubles, they'll help you with things like that. Because that's one of the things that we actually noticed was when it came down to our girls, we got no phone calls from the schools asking where they were. When it came down to our little boys who had the IEPs, it was calls to the parents okay, why isn't the child enrolled, or why haven't they been attending school? So they're really trying to figure out what happened to them extra dollars coming to their school because they had our young boys on IEP programs. So that's one of the things that we were able to pick up on when we first started our homeschooling program.
Ain't nobody been asking with my kids that they've been here the whole time.
Well, that speaks to what you said earlier about the over policing and the quick to diagnose our children and just try to keep them so structured and not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone adapts the same way. So it's like when you try to force a child to stay still and
for that long of amount of time, it's ridiculous.
Without talking, you got to go to lunch. You can't talk at lunch. You have to be quiet at lunch.
And they be like, well, how's your child socializing? How's your
We talk all day.
My kids don't get yelled at for talking to each other.
Right. We talk all day long. And sometimes it's like, leave me alone. Like, let me just.
If anything, we have an over socialization.
Exactly. Like, I still have to work, Like, I'm at this computer. It's not me just.
I'm doing work along with you, bruh. Can we do our work and get it done today?
Exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, Lorena, is there anything else as being a homeschool mom or a mom in general, you're balancing everything? Is there anything else that you would like to tell these women and families, for that matter, who are just trying to decide what should we do and how do you get it done?
My husband said, I need to shout him out. Why? And I will. Because he's amazing. And the only reason I'm able to do half the stuff I'm able to do is because he's an amazing partner.
Yes.
What I will say to homeschooling parents and families is give yourself grace. Mm-hmm. Give yourself grace. These schools fail our kids every single day. You're not going to do worse. I promise you, you're not going to do worse unless you just do nothing.
Yes. Yes. If anything, you'll probably be harder on the child because you want to see them succeed and you want to see your child at their highest potential. Like I told my daughter today, I'm like, don't come below the bar. I need you to set the bar. Like, I don't expect anything less from you. I want you to set the bar of how things should run for your little sister.
Yeah, you can push your kids more than a stranger will. And not saying do that. I'm just saying we know our kids. We know when they're trying and when they're not.
Yep. Yep. Straight up.
We know when they know something or when they're just like, I don't want to do this.
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, give yourself grace. Don't stress yourself out too much about it. There's a lot of things to learn. And also the benefit of homeschooling is you can actually learn with them. I'm learning a lot of African and African-American history that I was never taught.
Yep. Yeah. Right there with you.
We're learning this together, and they're learning things with me that I'm learning myself. They're learning how to take care of plants. They're learning how to do herbs. They're learning how to cook and clean. And these are homeschool. These are applicable homeschooling things. Taking care of a house, taking care of yourself. This is responsibility. Not necessarily something that they would have at a school because it would just be their work. But this is things that you need to be able to do outside of school. And some kids come out of high school, don't know how to iron their clothes or wash their clothes for themselves or clean up.
Yep.
That's something that what is it? What's that class?
Home ed.
There you go.
Yep.
Homeschooling.
They took it out when I got to high school, so I was mad because I wanted to do cosmetology. They took it out. So I was not even able to do that.
That's the thing, though. With homeschooling, you could have started cosmetology however early you wanted to do it. 14, okay, you want to be that? Okay, cool. Let's start doing apprenticeships.
Yes.
People that'll take you as apprentice. All this stuff. There's so much opportunity. There's a boy that just graduated. I think he was younger than 18, and he's going to school to be a pilot.
Wow.
When we take our kids and we start homeschooling, we open up more opportunities. It's not the other way around. Not closing the door. We're opening up more doors because there's less restriction and we can do it our way.
Yep. Some people might not know this either, is that you can still have your kids signed up for extracurricular activities with your local school. So if your child is into sports and they want to be a part of a team, they can still sign up with the local school system. I think the instruction that we was given is that you have to wait a year. Like when you first transition them from public school or whatever school into homeschooling, it's a waiting period, but you can definitely participate in that.
So I don't have to wait.
You shouldn't have to wait, yeah.
I haven't looked into that yet.
Yeah.
I'm content with us just dealing with this at home, but
right.
Eventually we need to.
Yeah, if they ever wanted to get into any kind of extracurricular activities, they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to husband. Thanks for all you do. We will be starting a series called Fridays with Fathers, because fathers also do things. So if your husband is wanting to be a part of that and just voice his opinion as a father and as a husband, tell him that he's more than welcome to be one of our guests to talk about that. Because a lot of fathers don't get the attention that they deserve also for being like huge key players and making all of this possible.
They don't. They also get, when they do little things, they get praised for it. So let's talk about making this a normal thing.
Right. Right on.
They're not special for doing these things, just like we're not special for doing them. This is part of parenthood, but they do them, and so it does need to be acknowledged. Like, you, just in case you didn't know, men do homeschool, men do clean up, men do take care of their children.
Yep.
It's not outside of the norm. And if it's for you, you don't have good role models in your life, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think the last question that we have is, what do you do when it comes to the SC testing that they push on our kids?
What test?
Not in homeschooling.
I'm like, did I miss something? Something get passed? What test? Not in South Carolina.
No BSAT. What's the test we had to take in school? I think it was BSAT and
ACT. That's
ACT, and ACT is optional if you want to go to college. But it was something else.
And even that, you don't, as a homeschool student, there's ways around that if you wanted to go to college. Yep.
Because I think Trident Tech, they have like a testing program that could qualify you for certain things also, that I'm going to look into for our oldest. But
what is that? Matt, what's that?
I think Matt was the one that came out after the BSAT, or I don't remember what order they came in. But I know BSAT was like the test that everybody was scared of in high school. Like, you could pass all your classes, but if you failed the BSAT test, you were failing that grade.
I went to high school in Alabama. I don't know if we had that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. But we don't do that here.
Yeah, we had that in South Carolina.
We don't do that in homeschooling. It's not a thing.
Yeah, and most of the time what you'll find out is that when they take the test, they're above their grade. Anyway, some parents just take it to see where the child is. And most of the time what they find out, they're above their grade because we learn so much.
His age, he's supposed to be in second grade. We've been doing third grade work for a while. And we don't stop homeschooling either. So you know how people take the break for the summer. I don't want him to data dump stuff. So we just gonna keep going. Because he's like, I went on vacation for 2 weeks. I come back. He couldn't say his ABCs. That was the end of that. That's the type of child you are. Thanks for showing me. Cool.
Right.
You might get a few days, but not that long.
Nice. Okay, Elle, look forward to talking to you. Well, Lorena, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us today. It was a pleasure talking to you and hearing more about all the things that you have going on. And we appreciate your encouragement for the families on tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun talking to you.
Definitely. So y'all, it's been your girl Candace from South Carolina by Black Locally, and Lorena, the holistic doula, also known as Lorena Graham. Y'all have a good night, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.
SCBBL show. Rock on. Rock on.